Hey guys, I'm here. I'm almost done setting up. Hang on, let me get this stuff here. Hang on. Need to do this. Okay, and then I need to. How do I do that again? Right. Okay. There we go. I have that running, and now I can do this and do this. Hang on, chat. I'm almost done setting up. And wait, where's the thing I'm looking for? There it is. Okay, let me just put it there. There we go. And now I can bring you guys over. Come on, god damn it. Why isn't this working? God, hang on, come on. Work, damn you, work. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, now bring this over here. And there we are. Welcome everyone. Welcome. I'm not looking forward to what I have to do today. This is gonna be hell. Or at least the start of my personal hell. How are you guys doing? Hope you guys are doing okay. Who's here? Death Hacker. Oh, hi, Death Hacker. Welcome. And hello to you too, Shu. Welcome. It's been a while. Yeah, it has been a while. Hope you guys are doing okay. Where have you been? I missed you. Why did you guys abandon me? What happened? Why did you leave? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Welcome. Hope everyone's been doing okay. I'm not looking forward to today's stream. I have comfy music playing right now. Let me know if the music is too high or too low or anything. But yeah, I have comfy music playing right now because I'm scared of what's about to happen. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. You're having technical issues? Your computer audio is broken? Is it still broken now? Are you able to hear me? Is your computer audio okay? Or no? Oh, I hope that whatever the problem is, it's fixed or soon to be fixed. Well, other than your PC breaking down, I hope you're doing okay. Speaking of which, my monitor is slowly breaking. That's why I have the tip go down there. Although technically we're quite close to completing it already. So yeah. Thank you everyone so much for all the tips, the subs, the donors, everything. Thank you to Dova, Lucky, Kylon. Yeah. Those three names specifically, you guys have been subbing and tipping, so yeah, that's been really helpful. Well, we're almost done funding the new monitor already, so that's a load of weight off my shoulders. I'm not worried anymore. But yeah, everyone, time for coffee. Grab your coffee. Remember, it doesn't matter what you're drinking as long as you're here for the moment chat. It can be coffee, tea, beer, root beer, water, anything you have. As long as you're here. Grab your drinks, everyone. Are you ready? Going in 3, 2, 1. Cream pie. Oh, that's so good. I hate this part. Wait, hang on. Why can I not see my coffee bag? Oh, it's because... Hang on. Because there we go. Now you guys can see the coffee bag. So guys, today I'm gonna be doing spooky maps. Actually, my friend is trying to request on me right now. I will accept his invite. There we go. If you see someone sneaking up behind me, warn me, chat, right? Warn me if you see someone sneaking up behind me. Well, today, as you can see, with the lighting around me, today we're officially starting Spooktober. This is I turned my homeworld horror themed, and it's everything is like gray and dark and stuff. So this home was usually quite comfy and stuff, but now it's like I'm scared. Is that Slenderman behind you? Wait, that's just David. Who's David? Who's David? I don't know who David is. Who's David? What? Who's fucking David? Should I be worried about David? I don't. Who the fuck is David, Chad? Who the fuck is David? I need to know. I'm scared. I'm scared. It's not Jason. That's Jason Voorhees. I'm running through all the names of all the scary things. Who the fuck is David? It's Nightmare on Elm Street is Freddy. Who else? The guy with the mask. His name? I don't remember what his fucking name is. The guy with the mask and the stabby stab. David is David. Who the fuck is David? It's he's gone. You're just messing with me. I know, but I'm kind of curious actually. Which horror thing is David? Is it David from Prometheus? No, I doubt it. That's not scary. That's just stupid. Who the fuck is David? Hang on. Now I'm curious, Chan. Now I'm curious. I need to see. What's the name of the stabby guy with the mask? I forgot his name. Horror stabby guy mask. I've forgotten what his name is. It's not Jason. Michael Myers. That's the one. Michael Myers, right? And then the Scream guy. The Scream guy. What was the Scream guy's real name actually? Kind of curious. I don't know if there's a David horror guy. Hang on. Let me see. Oh, goddammit. Fucking. I said. Backspace. There we go. Horror. David. Dear David official trailer horror movie. There's a horror movie. Named Dear David. A man is haunted by a ghost of a boy named David who is trying to kill him. So there is a horror thing involving someone named David. Breeding suit. Hi, Ross. Welcome. Breed, impregnate, and marry. Wait, no. No, Ross, no. You're supposed to marry before you get someone preggers. That's what the fuck is that noise? What the fuck is that noise? That was just VRChat, right? That was just V. What the fuck was that noise? I'm. What was that noise? What was the fucking noise? Chat, what's the fucking noise? I never heard that before. That actually fits what fits. Make the who you're talking to. Oi, you can't retroactively make your post about fucking I don't know what the hell was. Breed. Okay, breeding is fine, but no preggers until after marriage. No preggers. No pregnant, only breed. Yes. Going to it's me coming to yeah, I see what you mean. Princess Carrie. Oh, Princess Carrie is fine. I'm fine with Princess Carrie. I just don't. If you suddenly appear behind me and go like, whoop, I might scream because I'm in a horror version of my homework right now. The noises you're entering, you died 2000. Wow, 2000 years? Wow, you've been around for so long. Oh, welcome. I don't know if you can drink coffee or tea, but feel free to have a seat and order some. Hi, Mizu.
Hello.
Hi. How you doing?
Hello. I'm doing okay.
I just started horror stream. Spooktober stream. Gonna do some horror map. I don't know if you want to follow it or...
Oh, you wanna do horror maps?
Yeah.
Sure.
I have a couple saved, but if you have any recommendations, I remember doing horror with you and Numi last year, but Numi sadly is working right now.
I kinda wanna do a horror stream myself as well. Late night is best time, no?
Yeah, but I get noise complaints because I scream too much. So I need to do it during the daytime.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Sure. What match do you have?
Spooktober hasn't started yet, so I don't know if any of this year's horror maps are available. Might have to wait until later. But
When is Halloween again?
Halloween?
I don't remember.
End of this month.
The 30th was it?
I can't remember the exact date, but it's end of this month. Usually it's the last week of October.
I have one map that I can do with you.
Okay, sure. Chad Mizu's gonna lead us to horror map. Let me.
And then you're gonna lead me where to go. I've never done this map before, but I have something.
What? What you mean I lead you?
Yeah, you lead me.
Why I'm leading you? I'm a coward. Hang on.
Even more why you need to lead me.
What's this? I can't see the... Oh, this thing! I think you told me about this.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Yeah, having a choice. Let's go. Oh, Chan, I see that the camera's being left behind. Don't worry, I'll fix it. Oh my god. Fucking... Why isn't it working? Ah! There we go. What happened in the washroom? I just went to go to the washroom. It's fine. Artificial scary chimera. I've regressed to Harpy actually. I prefer Harpy. I'm a chimeric Harpy, but I'm a Harpy. Okay, hang on. Let me turn that off. Let me fix the camera so that you guys can see. How do I want to do this actually? Going to increase FOV like so, and okay. It's really staticky. Hope the stream is watchable for you guys in stream, because there's nothing I can do about the static.
Yeah, it's part of the map, unfortunately.
Yeah. Is the stream okay, guys? Let me know if it's shit, then I might try something else. Oh, you look cool.
I think
How do
I
I
can
look?
see what we can see, which is kind of blurry. You look okay.
I mean, for me, you look like you're just black with eyes glowing. I don't know what I look like.
You look the same. You're glowing on your emissions, that's about it.
So black
mostly black.
with glowing emissions. Okay, yeah. That's probably what they intended to do. Oh, we look cool. Well, time, I guess, to start. Hang on, I need to increase world volume because a bit too low. I know, okay, better. You really look cool in
Oh yeah,
here.
right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, make sure to increase world volume.
100%.
Yep, 100% though. Actually, you know what? I need to put chat on my hand so that I can interact with chat, and I'll close this so that I can. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what is
Just
this?
so you know, I did this map partially, so I kinda know the intro, but I don't know the ending. It's a semi-puzzle section.
Semi-puzzle, huh? Okay. Am I supposed to do something about this? Hang on, let me move this so that I can be like over the shoulder camera. Kinda having fun.
Yes. I am ready.
Okay. There we go. I'm scared already.
Actually, I just realized, Cutie.
Huh?
This map requires your camera.
So can I not have my
right here.
Oh, okay, hang on.
No, you need your camera. You need to see through it.
My camera are my true eyes. So I need to use my camera as
You need to pull out your camera. Yeah, keep your stream camera on, but use it to look around.
okay. Yeah, okay, yeah. I have my camera. I have my camera in front here and it's positioned back there. So I'm kinda like looking from behind.
Yep, I think that's good enough, yep.
Yeah, hopefully I'll do.
If I'm not mistaken, there should be something through this window.
Is there? I can't see anything? Question mark? It's
You
a little
might
bit
even
too.
look it through your camera.
It's a little too low res. Hang on, chat. We might need to do
You need to turn left, I think.
hang on. Oh hi. Hi. Hello, Mr. Eyeball. Can I help you? Please look a slut inside. Yeah, a slut inside. Okay, so that's what you meant by we have to look. Okay, is there anything on the
Using
TV
camera,
screen?
yes. You need to use your camera to look around.
I'm not seeing anything particular on the TV screen. It looks like it's just static. Are you hearing that footstep?
Jeez, oh my god. I don't remember
Really?
that. Oh my god.
What? No. Why are
Have you
you
got it too
here?
now? Yeah, I don't remember that.
Why? How do I choose? Continue, enter.
You can interact with it.
Leave? Yeah, leave. We're leaving. We're fine. We're leaving. It's okay. Wait, there's something here. Use? What the fuck is this? Use?
Something there?
Yeah, something here. Use, but I can't do anything with it.
Does it look like anything? No.
No. There's just
Don't know
something
what
that...
it does.
There's a button here that says use, but I don't know what it does.
I think when I did this, I straight away went to the next area.
I don't want to go in there. It's fucking asshole. Oh, time for us to go, chat. Time for us to go. Attacked me, chat. You too, Mizu. An unknown presence is stopping you from entering the hallway.
I'm watching
What?
your butt from here.
Unknown presence is stopping us? What? Really? So... we're still supposed to do something here? Do I have to do
There
something?
is one thing you missed, I think.
Let me see. I'm not getting anything here. Am I supposed to say something? Shadow figure, why are you here? Who are you and where am I? Fool, you know where you are and who I am. Right, this is all inside my head. What, am I being mind broken? How do I get out? Do not trust your own eyes. That's what he says. He's Batman. He says don't trust our own eyes. Now can I go? Guess not. What am I supposed to do? What am I missing? You can.
Didi.
Hmm?
In front of me, do you see something?
In front of... Oh! Okay, you know what, chat? I might need to turn off stream cam. Hang on. Let me turn off stream cam.
Maybe stick it behind your head, like
No,
real close.
what I'm gonna do is... I'm gonna do this, and I'm going to do... Hang on, chat. Okay, we're gonna have to
POV?
turn on Steadicam. Okay. You guys have Steadicam from my point of view, and I have this because apparently this map requires me to really pay attention to this, and I'm missing a lot of stuff. Okay, so use. We'll have Steadicam just for this map, and then we'll switch next time. What? Should I be worried about something? Why am I seeing ghosts up there? Is that a TV in my head? Did artificial scream yet? Not yet. I don't scream, guys. I don't scream at all. What am I? I can't move. Why can't I? What's going on? Why? Oh, what? Why? When did I get lightened with my eyes? You guys can see what I'm seeing, right? Yeah, you guys can see what I'm seeing. Okay. Everything okay, Lisa?
Yeah, doing excessive things.
Okay. I'll be right here. What's going on in my head that it turned out like this? Chat, I know people say I'm crazy, but I'm not this crazy. Okay? I'm not this crazy, okay? Okay, you guys can see my face in the camera. That's good actually. Yes, okay. Everything okay? We okay to move forward?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm just taking photos of you, that's all.
Why are you making me lead the way? Lisa, you know what we're supposed to do.
Because I think this is more amusing.
Why is it so dark? Okay, that leads off to nothing. That also leads off to nothing. Where am I supposed to go?
Use your camera.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good camera. Good camera. Don't jump scare me, please, camera. Hi, Street Fighter. Welcome. We're currently trying to not die to fucking horror map. Camera, any path forward? That way? I'm going, Mizu.
How we're just going to places, right? We're visiting this place.
Yeah, we're just going places, you know, exploring my mind. I'm definitely not crazy or anything. Yeah, we're totally fine. Why is my mind so scary? I mean, I know people.
Oh my god.
Are you okay?
I'm okay.
Ah, goddamn! I have to use the camera too. Okay. Everything okay? Yeah.
I'm good.
Use.
Okay, this place, be careful, you can actually die and respawn, but I'll see you at the end, okay?
Why you mean see me at the end? Wait for me! Where am I? Chad, where am I? Help! Use your camera to see. See what? Uh, what the fuck was that? I saw that. Fuck you! Fuck you, asshole! Fuck you! Ah! No! 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 Fucking hell! God damn it! That was a cute scream. Yeah, fuck you guys. It's supposed to help me. Am I gonna have to do the entire run again? I hope not. Ah, god damn it. Ah, it's harder to avoid it when it's behind you. Okay, we'll wait until it comes back, and yeah, we're doing this run away from the end, so we'll wait until it comes back, and then we'll run behind him. Like now. No. Okay, go. Let's go. Let's fucking go. Okay, fuck you. Please be done. 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 I'm sweating so much. Come on. Please let me go. Ah, my tracking's going here. Get me the fuck out of here. Hang on. I'm sweating so hard. Hang on. I need to put on a sweatband. Hang on a second. Also, I need to pee. Hang on. Let me go. Let me go and pee. I'll be right back. Hang on. Fucking need to pee. Give me 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute, chat. 1 minute.
Oh my dear. I need to go to the toilet as well. Yeah, I'm gonna go now. I'll be back as well.
There's a creature following me to stop here. It's wait, do you mean right here? I hope not here. Or do you mean the pillow wall thing? Okay. Let me plug my power bank back into my controller. Get fucking in there, god damn it! Hang on. Fucking USB! Okay, there we go. Ah, god damn it. Hang on. Alright, is my tracking okay? Yep. Actually, wait, I need to recalibrate my tracking. Give me a second. Let me recalibrate. Hang on. Can you see that? Yeah, you can. That's good to know, actually. It's good to know that you guys can actually see that. Okay, okay. I wasn't kidding, by the way, Mizo. I put on a Adidas sweatband.
Oh my god.
It's what I wear whenever I do.
In the previous map, right? You know that bridge that we were running through? And then there was a message that said, "One is coming." If you turned around, there's a pair of eyes following you.
Is that what killed me?
If you took your time, nothing will kill you.
Oh.
I actually waited at the door and I turned around. I thought I was looking at your nameplate, but as it turns out, it was a pair of eyes that was just coming closer and closer.
Oh, did you die?
No, I didn't die. I went through the door. It was a creature.
Well, good thing for me I didn't turn around and look, because fucking, I just kept running. Okay.
Okay, from here onwards, I don't know what's happening.
God. Okay, let's go together, Mizu.
Sure, let's go.
I'm following your sexy back. Door closed.
Oh no.
Oh shit.
What's behind us?
Nothing? I mean, okay, we fell down that door, but are we looking for something?
Are we looking for another trapdoor or something?
I don't know. Doesn't look like there's anything on the ground. Question mark? I don't see anything.
Maybe if I stick my camera through the door?
I don't think you're supposed to cheat like that.
I don't know, your camera's your eyes, right?
Maybe something on the wall? Um. I'm not seeing anything on the walls. Something
I
on
have
the
no idea.
ceiling? Hang on. I need to do something. Okay, hang on. Where's my trash bag? There it is. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Something on the ceiling.
I think I found the next area.
Oh.
Open this.
We can open that? Are you serious? How are we supposed to know that one of the fucking shutters is openable?
I have no idea. I just stuck my hand on one of the shutters.
Hang on. Sorry, I have to. Okay. Okay, let's continue.
I'm gonna poop myself, I swear.
You're gonna what? Poop yourself? Which way first?
Is it me or is there light coming from the right side?
Not seeing light. I mean, I see the shining floor.
The water. Look at the shining floor.
Should we just go right then? Just keep going right, and then
Oh,
there's
look at this.
yeah, pathway here. I guess we keep going? Question mark?
Did we just...
Oh,
Is this going down?
yeah, hi.
Okay.
It's floating boxes, but I can't interact with them.
Oh my god.
The fuck was that? What car?
Destroy the core?
What car? That
This
car?
is the core?
Why does it look like a heart? We can't
Is
enter.
to get something?
Maybe? We came from that way, so... that way? Dead end.
Dead end, okay.
Hi.
That's a fake wall.
Oh. Wanna go through?
Does this go back to the core?
I don't know.
I think it is. Yes, it's back at the core. I can hear it.
Okay. So this is a crisscrossing maze. With fake walls
I
everywhere.
think so. Wait, what?
Can we interact with that? We can. Where are we?
I hear something in there. Oh,
Did
we're
we-
here? Okay.
Oh, we looped back.
Just run around.
Oh. Well then, let's go, I guess.
I guess we can go through this invisible wall thing
And keep exploring.
and see what's here. I hear something. Another fake one?
The fuck was that?
Okay, what is that sound?
Yeah, what the fuck is that? Eh?
What? What is this?
Can we go through? No.
Cannot.
We can look through, but we can't go through. Eh? It's a chain link fence.
Do you see something there?
Yeah, there's something there. Oh great, it's raining.
Oh, it's just... Wait, what is this? This is where we came from.
Ah, god damn it, really? Back in we go.
Let's go right, but not take the invisible wall.
Okay.
This is a different invisible wall.
Let's
I
try.
didn't take this one.
Yeah, it's actually raining right now. It's pouring. I don't know if you can hear it.
What is that? What is that? I hear something.
Yeah, the rumbling sound is from my mic.
No, there's actually a creature in front of us.
Is there actually a creature here? I'm hearing rain pouring outside.
So.
I can't hear anything.
Wait, did we just spin around? Oh my god, I'm so lost.
Dead end.
Okay, this is a dead end, dead end. I'm feeling the core is this way. Why is this so long?
I don't know.
Dead end?
Really? Nothing here?
Okay.
Hi, Swats. Hope you're doing okay. Welcome to spooky horror in VRChat.
We came from down. Invisible wall?
Yeah.
Ah, this is where we came from. Okay.
Um.
That's the invisible wall we went through the first time. Or third time, I should say.
Another fucking window? Well, we can't see back through this window, but what's this supposed to serve? I'm not seeing anything special on the camera.
I'm not sure.
So that's the exit that we came through. How about here?
Oh my god.
No. That's new.
Did you read that?
Don't trust
I
what?
didn't manage to read it.
It said don't trust something.
Don't trust something, I don't know. Oh, the
Don't
walls? Is it?
Don't trust the walls, don't trust your eyes or...
Hey, I see something.
Oh, and a serene. Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. No, 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 no. Reason.
We're running to places. It's changing the slower than me.
God.
I died as well.
Yeah. God fucking damn it.
Oh my god.
Where does it start us? Please start us at the fucking... Are you fucking serious? It started us here.
Okay, at least this time, what we can do is that... Don't grab the syringe, but map where to go to get to the heart.
Yeah, okay. No, we need to find the syringe first. Do you remember how to get there?
Yeah, need to find that syringe.
Mm.
I don't quite remember. I have a feeling it's... Is it on the other side of this thing?
I remember
No, we
going
went
that
this way,
way.
right? We went
Yeah.
left.
We went left.
And then we turned right.
And then turned... Yep, don't trust the walls. Yep, this is the syringe. Okay, now that we know that the syringe is here. I remember finding the heart by going...
I think I know... Yeah, I think I know where to go. Turn left.
I mean,
And
right?
then right.
You're going...
And then there should be an invisible wall here.
Yeah. And
And then
then...
there should be a down thing.
Mm-hmm. And
And then
back
it
up.
should be a core.
Yep. Okay. We know where we have to go. Yep, this is relatively easy.
Okay. We can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Left, right. No.
Not too early.
We don't take this turn.
Yeah. Take the
Yeah.
next turn. Yeah,
Should
yeah.
be entrance to our left. Yep.
You're doing that on purpose.
All right. Are you ready?
Ready? Pick up
You want me to
and
go
let's go.
first?
And destroy the core. Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit!
Turning right. Turn left. We're spinning right.
No!
Turning focus. All right. Okay.
Okay, we need to find an alternative route to the fucking room because the motherfuckers
Yeah.
put a fucking monster spawn there. Okay, let's go to the heart and find an alternative route.
Yeah.
There has to be an alternative route. Okay, so when we come up here, a monster spawns over
Okay.
there.
So we need to turn right.
Yeah.
There's no fake wall here, right? No.
Yeah, that's a dead end. That is
This
a fake wall.
Okay.
You can go
And I think we can turn left straight away and spin around.
spin around the monster.
Yeah.
Go
Spin around
around.
the heart.
Okay,
And
so
then we can get in here.
yep, right. We have a pathway.
Okay.
Thank you for joining, Violinese. So the chat has a soft, milky skin to look at.
Oh my god.
Fucking. Okay. 3, 2,
Okay.
1, and go.
Right again. Oh no, active.
And then monster's gonna spawn.
Monster
Yeah,
here.
okay. Now turn.
Right.
Go straight.
Keep going.
Turn left.
Invisible wall to next to your way.
Left.
And we spin around them.
Got it. Now what? Oh no, Mizu! 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 We'll wait here for Mizu, chat. We'll wait here for Mizu. Okay, hang on, let me change this to stream camera real quick so you can see me a little bit, although it's really dark, but wait here until Mizu gets here. Mizu, if you can hear me, when you go around the corner, just make a break for it. Go, get in. You can get into the room before the monster catches you. Good luck, Mizu. Oh god. Oh, I'm so sweaty. Hang on, I need to wipe the sweat off my brow. Give me a second, chat. Give me a second. Okay. Oh my god. Okay. We're waiting for Mizu to catch up with us. Here I am, we're trying to rush in. Oh, really? Yeah, I think you just need to spawn the monster and then go around. I was able to like just duck in before the monster caught up to me. Oh, don't worry, Mizu, we'll wait for you. This particular monster seems to be programmed to only loop around in this small square, so he won't follow you around the back, but he will stay here, stuck at the corner. Wait, hang on, let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this monster right here at the entrance, he seems to be programmed to just stay around this square in front of the entrance. So when you go around, he'll be stuck at the corner there, but when he gets stuck there, you might have enough time to go around and then immediately just come in here. You might be able to get in if you just focus on getting into this room before he reaches you. Good luck, Mizu. Good luck. Waiting for you. In the meantime, I'm gonna drink coffee. God. Yeah. Green pie, chat. Cheers. Okay. You're too fast because he's stuck close to door. Okay, in that case, then draw him towards you a little bit more. Before you duck into the pathway at the back. That should give you enough time. There you go. Yay. Good job, Mizu.
I took my time.
So yeah, we kind of stuck the needle in the heart. Kind of just jabbed it in there. What was what to do now?
Now what do we do?
Exit, I guess. I mean, I still see the monster dead around the corner over there. It's not moving anymore.
Oh, he's frozen.
Yeah, he's frozen. He's frozen here for me. I don't know where he's frozen for you. Right there?
I have made him follow me. Yeah,
Oh.
I made him follow me entirely. There was no monster in front of me.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, there's nothing here. I actually turned around and made sure he followed me.
nice. Good job. So which way do we want to go now?
Now what do we do?
Do we want to go this way or go to the main door? You wanna go back to the main door?
Yeah, go to follow me. I found another way out.
You hear an unlocking sound somewhere.
What is that? Is that
Yeah.
a pair of eyes?
Yeah. Hi. Once.
The door is here.
It's not a pair of eyes. It's a fucking doorknob.
Oh my god. Okay, so we can go through this now.
There we go.
Oh, this is above the water. We were down there before.
Oh. Out. Can we be done with this? Hi, Eyeball.
I think we're done.
Are we done? Hello, Mr. Eyeball. Are you friendly? Please be friendly. I want. Can we be friends, please?
Oh my god.
Familiar eye. It's you again. Why does my head hurt every time I see you? What? The fuck does this mean? What?
I have no idea.
It seems your conscious hasn't constructed this sequence yet. What? God. How did you end up here? I don't know. What the fuck is going on? I see. Soon, it will all make sense. For now, you should just wake up. But do know your time is running out.
I heard a door.
Soon, your mind will be corrupted to the point of no return. We'll meet again in the Nexus. Let your conscious guide you. Oh, we're done. What's this a portal to?
I think that's GG. We did it.
Where's this go? Do you know where that
I
goes?
have no idea.
Wait, is that the old map from the
Let me
same
look
map?
at their list of maps and see what the portal looks like.
Yeah.
I think it leads to Dream Decay,
Yeah, Dream Decay.
which is a kill map.
Hey, what map?
A chill map.
Oh, we can go there. He intends for us to go there, so I can create a new instance. Invite. Drop portal. Right here. There we go. Okay, we'll go in and we'll have back camera again. Fuck. Uh, 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 okay. Okay, let me put on. Oop. Let me put on stream camera. There we go. Guys. This is. We can be a bit chill now. You finally woke up from your 6.9-year coma. We finally woke up, but we're currently still being mind broken, chat. Oh no! Chat, it's horrible. We're gonna be mind broken. No.
I used to sleep in this mat.
You?
Yeah,
This
I used to
is-
sleep here.
Really? I can think of other more
Yeah. It's a cozy
comfy.
mat.
This isn't very cozy to me.
It's very cozy, right?
I remember being here before. It's not cozy. Not for me at least.
Have you been in the basement before?
I remember exploring this. I remember there being a corridor that we could enter, but there's not really nothing much in it.
Nothing there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been to the diner?
The diner? There's a diner. I don't think I've been here before. Where?
I remember I slept right in front of the dumpster, right here.
Wait, I know this map. I know this fucking map. This is a stock asset. That was a...
It's a cozy map, right?
I mean, yes, this is a stock asset. There was someone made a fucking horror. What was it? McDonald's map using this asset.
Oh.
Literally, just yeah. This is the exact map. It's cozy with the jazz music. Let me wind out a little bit from that fucking God. Oh, hang on. Let me recalibrate. I want to sit down. Okay. Oh wow, you guys can see that? Oh, that's surprising. Hang on. Because of Steadicam? No, you guys can see that now. Interesting. That wasn't there before.
Could
I
be
wonder...
under masking UI.
That wasn't there before. This thing. Oh no, it's because you guys are looking at me. Yeah, the mirror form of me isn't there, but the original form of me you guys can see. Ah, interesting. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's good to know actually. Give me a second. Yeah, fucking second. Okay. Let me sit down. You wanna be mind broken too, chat? Yeah, that's sus, chat. You're not supposed to want to be mind broken. That you super shush. Actually, Actually, hang on. Let me find a place that has good lighting. This place doesn't have really good lighting for chilling, although here's not bad, I guess. Yeah, here's not bad. And I can do something to improve my lighting a little bit. Hang on. Let me get rid of shadows. Tone down rim darkness. Okay. Yeah, the entire time we were doing that, I was just staring at this, you know, sexy back over here. You guys see this?
Would it?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this nice sexy back.
I specifically use this avatar because it's wholesome, you know? There's
What?
no ass, there's no booba, it's covered up.
But you have a really sexy back.
Maybe I'll use something else.
No,
This
no.
one?
No, you bring the sexy back. Yeah.
You don't like this one?
Oh, this one's nice too. It's really nice, chat. Look. Look. It's nice, right?
Point the camera away one sec. I want to show you something.
Okay. Okay.
So if I take off the lingerie, that's what you see.
Oh. Oh, sorry you can't see that, chat. Let me just mess with the wide angle. There we go. Yeah, things are joining me. Any other horror maps you want to do? That took 1.5 hours actually.
Jimmy likes it most if I use Yui. Did it?
Well,
1.5 hours.
Well, okay, maybe not fully 1.5 hours, more like well, 1.5 hours since I started stream, so I would say about maybe half an hour. Well, 1 hour, 45 minutes, give or take.
Maybe longer than that, yeah. I joined you when you were like 20 minutes into stream.
Yeah, an hour. I have enough energy for one more map.
Nui says he wishes he could join us.
Numi. It's fine, it's fine. Whenever Numi wants to do his own horror map, I'll join him and Numi can stream.
Yeah, I'll take him through that map just now.
Oh? Okay. Although this avatar, there's a problem, chat. This avatar has a problem. You see what the problem is? Do you see, chat? Do you see? There's a problem. There's a problem right here, chat. Right here.
What's the problem?
Huge problem. Huge problem.
What, is it too small?
It's illegal, chat. Misa's doing something illegal, which means. There we go.
Wait, what?
Hang on.
Oh,
Let me
I
get
see.
my size down to your size. There we go. Yes. It's illegal for the guests to have huge booba, and I don't have huge
What are you
booba.
saying?
Yeah, it's illegal, right, chat? Right. So yes. There we go. Now you're no longer illegal.
Yeah, this avatar is a little bit more dangerous. But Nui likes following me around when I'm using this avatar.
Gee, I wonder why, chat.
Because of the bite.
I wonder why Numi likes following this so much.
Oh my god.
What do you think, Misa, do you want to do one more horror map or
Why are you doing horror today?
Spooktober?
How? Do you have something in mind?
Spooktober is
have
the
a map
month
in mind?
where I have to play horror no matter what. Do I have a horror map in mind? I've got several favorited from friends before, but I'm not sure if you've done them. Let me see here.
I don't mind doing a map that I've done already. Because I kind of want to save some maps to do it on the Halloween stream.
Okay, I have a map called It Follows, and I have another map called Purify. I don't know which one you've done before.
Oh, let's go Purify.
Are you on Purify?
That's one of my friend's maps.
You've done it before, I assume?
Yeah, one of my friends created that map. But I haven't done it in a very long time.
Okay, I put a portal down there, so we can go and do that. Alright, time for us to get ready for second horror map, chat. One more! One more. One more fucking horror map. Okay, so what do I...
Oh, right.
Okay, so what do I need to know about this one?
Not much. There's a lot of puzzles. Well, not a lot of puzzles, but kind of like, looking for things.
Okay, now let me set up the camera first before we start this. Okay, let me move this out of the way. Okay, put that here. Flying camera. Oops. Okay, I need to make sure that you guys can see what I'm interacting with. Okay, that's fine. Maybe give you guys a little bit more wide angle. I'm going to lock the camera like so that it's so I can know which side is forward. There we go. And I need to adjust my shader settings because I'm glowing a little too hard, and this wall has a really strong glow here. Okay. Actually, do I want to turn this off completely? Yeah, I might have to turn off reflectance completely because of how strong it is. Okay. Okay, I think we are all set. Okay, what do I need to do to start? Based on real setting, all characters events in this game are fictional. There's no way focuses on specific any religious, political, social group. No offense is intended, okay? You need to understand Chinese to solve the puzzle. This is a ching chong. Oh wait, hang on. Fuck, hang on. I need to change the anchor type to... There we go, okay. Also, I need to change my outfit. Hang on. This outfit doesn't work. Let me turn that on. There we go. How's this look? Yeah, I think that looks a lot better. Okay. Okay. Actually, wait, let me try. Pink's good there. No, it doesn't look good. Okay. Yep, okay. So, let's see. Ching ching chong chong. Creator, flower sprite. Hi, ching chong.
That was right.
What was that?
Nothing. I'm good to go.
Okay. Let's go. Check your volume. Click here to hear a sample of the loudest sound in the game. Okay, that's not too loud. The point of view must be at least this high to finish the game.
Okay. We're good to go.
Let's go. Can't see anything. There we are. Purify the unit and evacuate safely. Are we doing a Chinese exorcism? We're doing a Chinese exorcism, aren't we? Oh,
Pretty much, yeah.
flashlight?
They gave us a flashlight. How nice.
Oh, you can see the flashlight. Okay, good. Hang on, the camera's a bit too close and angled a bit too low, so let me give you guys a little bit more distance. There we go. Okay.
Since I've done this already, I can just help you out when you get lost.
Okay. Okay. I see access. I see. Is there an instruction manual for how to purify? Oh, okay, like that. Huh?
I'll give you a nice hint. Do you see this table?
Yeah.
There's a use for it.
Is it keeping track the amount of spots we purify?
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Then ching ching chong chong chong, ching chong, ping pong bong bong dong,
Oh my god.
ching chong, ching chong, ching chong, ping pong. Why are their eyes blotted out? 我知道 VRChat chong chong ching chong bong bong. And this, let me guess, the more we purify, the more the map is gonna fucking go haunted. Is it? Is it?
Ring ring.
Do I want to answer that?
I have no idea what they're saying.
Why?
I don't know what they're saying.
That sounded like fucking... That sounded like Mandarin, I think. which means I can't
I think so,
parse
yeah.
exactly what it was saying. I only know Cantonese. Oh, a tiny bit of it. Me. 我去欣赏，欣赏，欣赏，欣赏，欣赏。I'm getting. Oh my god! Can you guys hear that?
Thunder.
Hmm.
I heard it.
Yeah. Mizu heard it, but I'm not sure if you guys heard it. Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry you guys didn't see that. I'm sorry you guys didn't see that. Camera was in the wall. I'm sorry.
I actually missed it as well because I was looking to the right.
Oh, some floating head monster thing. Let's wait. Is that locked? Okay, fuck you, game. Let's go this way first. Hi. Buddha statue? Question mark? Ching ching chong. Be purified.
Oh. Oh, fun time. Oh, yeah.
What? Oh god. What's going on? What's happening? What? What? Oh. Is it? Hi, Mr. Buddha statue. Can I help you? Why are you haunted? Listen. I'm Taoist. I'm fucking Taoist. You can't hurt me. I'm not Buddhist.
We're
I'm
trying to
Taoist.
convert you.
No, I'm not Buddhist, I'm Taoist. I know a lot of people confuse the two, but we're not the same. We're not the fucking same. No. We're not the same. Okay.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
What do you mean? Oh my god.
I don't know. You're just going crazy. Oh my God.
Me going crazy? No, fuck you. I'm not going crazy. It's true. I am fucking Taoist. My family is Taoist. Even though on paper I'm Buddhist because people's governments don't recognize Taoism, but technically my family is Taoist, not Buddhist. I don't know if you heard any of what I just said, but
Oh yeah, I heard it. The rooms are next to each other.
Oh really? Oh, that's cool. Red marks on the map? No. What? I don't see a red mark anywhere. Where's the...
Oh, here.
In... Eh?
And behind the table.
Oh, okay. I see it. Okay. Nothing? No spooky Buddha trying to convert me to Buddhism? So what the fuck is this? What map is this? What Ching Chong map is this? I don't know. Oh well, we came from there. And the door appears to be locked now. Instead we have to go through this way. Oh, hello. I don't know if it's locked, but I see a... Okay, there's a... What? Okay, chat. No Chinese person would tile a bathtub like this. Look at this. This is fucking green and blue tiles. This is so fucking tacky. God, unless they they listen to some feng shui guru who said you need to spread emerald colored tile green everywhere, so you can get the fa choi.
It reminds me of Demon Slayer.
It is, isn't it? Wait, there's something in there. Can I pick this up? No, I can't. It's nothing. Well, should we go back out?
Think so?
Long corridor.
I'm coming.
What? What?
Enjoy.
I'm scared. Nothing here. Nothing here. Nothing there. I can hear you laughing. Rizu.
I'm not laughing. What are you saying? I'm not doing anything. I'm just watching you.
You're laughing at me.
Oh my god.
Hello? Oh, we're back.
Are we missing something? We're missing one.
Yeah. There was a locked room, wasn't there? Is this thing still locked? It's still locked. Okay, so that means what I was supposed to do is still somewhere here. Is it in the kitchen? Do we miss one in the kitchen? Kitchen. No. Oh, here. The exit. Okay. Just. I heard that. There was a sound of something unlocking. Hello? Ghosts? Demon Buddha thing?
Oh my god.
Okay, this is now openable. Yes, red light. Yes, Buddha. Can I help you? What? A1, A2, A3. What the? What? Let's start with A1.
I will sit here until you figure it out.
I mean, I'm just trying to open each and every one of them. And now, seeing if I... Oops. Why am I hearing something?
The radio?
Okay. A1. See. Hang on, let me just check this one by one to see if there's anything in here. Oops. God damn it. Fucking collider. Really, the drawer has a collider when it opens? God. Okay. I'm not seeing anything. Right. Can we exit the door? Yes, we can. Okay, I think I need to grab something from some information from outside in order to solve this. So let's head out.
That's right.
Um. Hmm. Hmm. I thought it might be the symbols here, but no, it's something else. Hmm. Hmm. Look for anything that could indicate some kind of hint for those symbols. Toilet? Don't see anything. Hmm. 84. I don't see anything that could be what I'm looking for. What am I looking for? I can still go back into the other rooms. Let's check the other rooms to see if there's a marker somewhere.
Oh, I just realized she has her face.
Yeah, she has a
Her
face.
face is still there.
The others outside don't have their face. I'm not seeing anything here. Here. Nothing here. Nothing there. Another toilet. Mr. Muscle. Bucket. Not seeing anything here. In this room. It's Ching Chong Man. A1, B5, C3, D2. Chat, type that down. Chat, type down. Type that down.
I already wrote it down. There you go.
B5, C3. Okay, thanks, Mizu. Okay, let's get out of here. Now back here. Okay, let's see. B1, B5, C3, and D. Oh, god damn it. God. 2. What did I do? I did something.
The hidden door open?
Yeah.
But I don't quite remember.
Guess we go out and check where the door unlock could be.
Oh, now I remember. Okay.
Okay, well, this thing is happy now.
Oh, that thing is cool.
Yeah, this looks really cool. It's glowing. Yeah, let me change Chat's camera position
Wait,
so you
all
can
I can
see.
say is good luck.
What do you mean good luck? What do you mean good luck?
Good luck.
Yeah. I'm scared. Exit. Oh, okay. Let's go home. Job well done, chat. Let's go home. Oh, we're done here. Why am I working as a fucking exorcist? I'm a fucking coward. Oh, the elevators here are so gigantic. What? Wait, why can't we take the fucking elevator? Hang on. Why are you leaving me? Because I'm my job's done. My job's done. We're going home. We're fucking going home, ghost. We're not staying here anymore. Fuck. I guess that means the fucking elevator isn't working. Damn. I guess we gotta go this way now. Gonna go downstairs. Yeah. Nope. Really? Let me fucking... Really? I can't go up or down the stairs? What? What am I supposed... I have to go back? Really? Really?
Yep.
I have to go back?
Because why are you leaving then?
I don't want to go back. I want to go home.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Laugh it up, Haki.
Oh my god.
What? Excuse me? 31.57 0? What? I'm looking at the fucking... Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. What's going on? V5 what? 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 Huh? Nice. There's some ching chong letters up there, chat. Hang on. You see, ching chong. I don't know what that is. I wish Kyla was here. He'll be able to read that. Hi. Can I help you? Thank you for playing. Oh. Okay.
Simple.
Well design, title, and ending music. Sound effects. Wait, no, this is bad. This is bad. I'm Taoist. Did the Buddhist ghost get me? Did I get mind broken by Buddhism? No, I'm supposed to be Taoist. No.
Oh my god.
Damn it. Oh, obsession. I heard a lot of people play that, but I never played it actually. Obsession.
You never played it? It's a good one.
Yeah.
But I think it's better if you play it alone. Because of the puzzles.
Puzzles?
And also, Flowers said to me that in average, each group of people, they take about an hour to an hour and a half. Something like that.
Hour to hour and a half for groups, but
It's a
alone
fairly
what?
long one.
1 to 3 hours, he said.
1 to 1.5.
Yeah. I got converted. Yeah, I got converted to Buddhism. Yeah, no, no. Oh, light. Oh, mirror. Oh god, it looks awful in the mirror. Oh, it looks better for you guys. Put that over there, and let me reset this, and there we go. Well, the lighting. The lighting in this is really narrow, so I'm gonna use this as kind of like a spotlight. There we go. Didn't I turn on shadowless? I did. Can I turn off rim darkness? No, it doesn't help much. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. I'll use the flashlight as a spotlight. There we go. Chat. I got mind broken and converted to Buddhism. No!
Doing that.
No!
Simple nap zone just now. I think that was Flowers' first horror.
Purify?
Yeah, I think so. And an obsession is their next one.
You know what? I'm going to save obsession so that I can probably play it next time. Since you mentioned that's better to do it alone.
Well, how do I say that? I guess it's kind of like, it's good to do it with chat, so chat can help you, but not good if you are doing it with people who already know what to do.
Is it puzzles?
Puzzles, yes.
Alright. It is a favorite that I haven't.
I think Numi has done it before, but I think she could tag along if you do it next time.
We'll see. Hang on, let me. Obsession at the favorites game. There we go. Ah shit! Hang on, I'm fucking up my overlay. There we go.
If you do obsession in less than an hour, you're considerably a speedrunner.
Really? God damn it, hang on. Fucking overlay, anyway, of me controlling the camera. There we go.
That was relaxing, right? Very cozy. Cozy mat.
No! No, I got force converted to Buddhism. No! It's awful.
Still like
No!
I don't actually know what the ending's about. Like, why are we here?
I think this is the afterlife gate.
So technically we died.
Maybe, I'm not sure. Either we died or we barely escaped and he's like, yay, you got away, good job. Technically, Chad, do you know the history of Buddhism and Taoism and what happened? There's actually a lot of real bad blood history between Buddhism and Taoism. Like you wouldn't you wouldn't think that, you know, that Buddhists and Taoists were trying to kill each other a lot throughout Chinese history, but yeah, we actually tried to kill each other. So when I was joking about when I was talking about, you know, how I'm being force converted into Buddhism by the Buddha statue, I was kind of making a slight joke about how Taoism
Was that a reference?
A minor reference to how Buddhism and Taoism tried to enact erasure on each other multiple times in ancient Chinese history. Not many people know about it, actually. Oh god. Oh god, I'm sweating so much.
Wholesome hours, right? Did you actually sweat? Oh my god.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I actually put on my fucking... I put on my sweatband. I'm wearing an Adidas sweatband IRL right now. I bought this.
I didn't jump on the first one. The first jump scare, I screamed a bit.
Yeah, I heard you. I'll squeak. Like brief history. During the Cultural Revolution in China from 1966 to 1976, many Taoist temples and sites were destroyed or badly damaged. Taoist clergy were forced to disrobe and sent to labor camps in China.
What the heck?
Yeah. So my jokes about me being force converted into Buddhism from Taoism were like references to Taoist persecution in China. Yeah. We make fun of religious persecution here. We laugh so that we won't cry. Adidas, yeah, Adidas. Actually, it's actually Adidas branded headband, and I got Adidas specifically because of because gotta support Coco, right? /Kson. Wear that Adidas.
How do you wear the headband with a headset on?
The headband kind of like goes just under the top of the it kind of just sticks into the top of the face cushion on the Vive Pro. Yeah, so it acts as an extra layer of absorbent. And it actually does wonders whenever I do exercises. It's it really makes a huge difference whenever I exercise, and you start sweating and stuff. But the Adidas band as an extra layer of absorbent is.
Do you have an AC on or no?
Yes, I do. And I'm still sweating buckets because I was scared.
Okay, oh my god.
I was scared.
I think my room right now is like 20 degrees, but I don't think I can sweat unless I'm like moving around a lot.
$20°C. That's like several degrees cooler than I am right now. I'm so
Outside's
jealous.
even lower. I think it's something like 14 degrees.
I'm so jealous. Give me some of that Australian winter chill. I want it so bad.
Yeah, 2 days ago it was 28 degrees, and then it's been raining for 2 days straight. So at night it's like 11 degrees.
Oh, that sounds so nice. I miss Australian weather. Summer, not so much, but you know what? I can tolerate dry summer in exchange for having some nice winter. Now you guys can enjoy. I'll put you guys extra close.
What are you doing? What are they looking at?
Don't worry.
Oh, abs? Okay.
Yeah, they're just looking at abs. It's wholesome, right? Abs are wholesome, right, chat? I think I'm looking at abs. Totally fine.
I'm getting sleepy, I think.
Aww.
Sleepy hours for me.
Sleepy. You should be comfy with Mizu.
I need to show you a new way of me sleeping in VR.
Oh? Wait, are you gonna switch to the avatar I'm thinking of? Oh.
Wholesome avatar.
Yeah, totally awesome avatar.
But I was kind of like, yeah, I was laying down the other day, and then I was like, oh, I always sleep on my back or on my side.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of thought about what position I could fall asleep, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I decided, I should lock my gestures like this, and then sleep in public like this.
Mm-hmm. That's a totally normal sleeping posture, right, Chad? Totally normal.
And then maybe toggle DPS somewhere
Mm-hmm.
and leave it on.
Yeah, it's toggle DPS somewhere and leave it on. I wonder where it is right now. Yeah, I'm sure this is fine. There it is. Don't worry, chat, don't worry. It's just a back massager.
Awesome.
Yes, it's a back massager. Yep.
Okay, I
Totally
changed it.
normal back massager. Totally awesome back massager. Oh. Yeah, yes, it's just back massager. You're fine. It's fine. Oops. No, he's not sus at all. Totally not sus.
Awesome way of sleeping, you know?
Yeah. You feel
You know,
very...
if I stay like this for a lot longer, I might actually fall asleep.
You can go to bed if you need to. I'm just relaxing. I know, I'm winding down after all the spooky horror maps. Actually, I'm just being comfy. I was actually
Oh, I
thinking
can adjust horizon. There we go.
Yeah. I was actually thinking of doing Phasmophobia stream possibly for this, but then I realized that I don't have the avatar set up for Phasmophobia, so I need to do that. I'll probably get to working on it.
Right.
I literally haven't played Phasmo for a year, so I don't know any of the new updates of Phasmo yet. In fact, I need to go and take
They
some...
reset your level, so you're back to 0.
Hmm.
And your money's back to 0 as well.
No, my tools, no.
But I think overall it's a good update.
Okay. I'll be trying it and, exploring Phasmo. I actually need to go and take some thumbnail photos for Phasmo. Like go into a Phasmo map and take some thumbnails. You want to follow me or you're comfy here?
Phasmo map, sure.
Well, no, I was saying I was going to go into a Phasmophobia map world and just take some pictures for a thumbnail.
Yeah, sure.
You happen to have anything that could stand in as a ghosty avatar?
A ghost avatar?
Well, ghosty or doesn't have to be a full ghost, like can be like dead avatar or anything like that. and you can
I do have something kind of spooky.
spoopy.
I'm
Like
not
I
sure
know
though.
like the
Yeah,
the
spooky.
Revenger, the God Revenger avatars have like the pale skin, but I don't know if you have that set up.
Oh yeah, I have that, yeah.
Mhm. Oh.
Oh my god, the fizz bones.
Well, Fizzballs being wonky doesn't matter too much. That is a... It might actually look fine in the camera.
A very old avatar.
Might actually work, actually. Oh. Okay, chat. You guys wanna come with me while we take some screen pics for Phasmo map? I mean Phasmo stream? The Revenger. Yeah, that's the Revenger. I leave up to you which avatar you want to use. Either could work.
I also recolored it to red as well.
Alright, let's find us a Phasmo map, shall we? Okay, let me put this here and put this here. There we go. Okay. Let me see if I can find us a Phasmo map. I'm gonna take some pics for thumbnail. Tanglewood? Which house is Tanglewood? I'm not sure. I think today I was breaking the lights, my PC will scream. Okay, let's try this map. I don't know how it's gonna be like, but we'll try this Phasmo map. Let's go. Let's go, chat. Time to take screen pics. And we can prepare for Phasmophobia next stream. Let me drink some coffee. Cream pie chat. Yes. Okay. Okay. Huh? Where am I? Oh god. Oh, I have no frames. Oh my god, I have no frames. Well, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, the frames. Ah, the frames. Oh my god, the frames. Okay, let's see, is there any way for me to increase the lighting in here? Or is this place really dark? It might be a bit too dark to take photo actually. But actually, wait, you know what? That actually looks
But
amazing.
I think it would be nice if I stand in a corner like this.
Oh yeah, actually that's perfect. It's actually really good. I need to make sure I have good lighting though. Let me. Here's the thing, I know that there is a really good damn it, I need to okay, there we go. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Let's see, how do I want to do this? The lighting in here might be a little bit too strong. Yeah, it's too dark. We need better lighting. Hang on, let me try. I like the idea, but we need a world with better lighting. Damn it.
There are flashlights at the van.
Oh, there are? Okay, if there are flashlights at the van, then maybe we can set up our own lighting. Can we interact with them? We can. Okay, so yeah, let's set up our own lighting.
Maybe candles?
Was it? Candles will work as well.
Candles.
Okay, grab them all. Okay, yeah, put a candle. We're going to set up like so. We're creating some lighting chat. I got it. Okay. Okay. Ah, God damn it. Really? Really? Hang on. Well, let me try to fucking... Yeah. Stay here. Okay, thank you. Okay, apparently these things don't float, so I need to set them like so. Oh, God damn it! Why isn't the collider on this sofa? Fucking... Okay. Okay, there we go.
Maybe
there we
you
go.
could hold on to a candle as well.
Yep. Yeah. God damn it. God fucking damn it, collider! Fucking... Come, fucking... Okay. Okay, okay, let me get into a good spot. There we go. Okay. We're gonna take several photos. Okay, chat, I need to turn off your view for a little bit, but don't worry. Okay. Okay. And wait, do I... What do you think, Mizu? Skirt on or skirt off?
I think skirt off.
Skirt off? I have an idea. Let me see here. Nah, it's too... This is too subtle for thumbnail. Thumbnail has to be obvious, so... Let me set this up. Give me a second, chat. Okay, there we go. Yeah, this looks better. Okay, turn this off. Okay, yeah, there we go. Perfect, 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 perfect. Okay, so you can see same picture. Okay, let me try to feel like there we go. And one more. Okay, I want to take another photo. That'll be more obvious because for thumbnail you might be a little bit too far away. Could you stand here on this cushion? Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, perfect, 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 perfect. I don't know, make a yeah.
Right.
Roar, make a roar. Sorry about. Oh.
Wait. How about just one eyeball coming out of your side?
Too subtle. Show more of yourself. It needs to be very. You can peer from the side, but just show more of yourself. Like show more of your body and your head, because thumbnails need to be very obvious. Otherwise, the detail is lost. Let me try to do like so. Yeah, perfect. Can you raise yourself up? Please face up. Yeah, please face up. Come at me from high. Make it obvious that you are floating, like you're a ghost. Yeah, perfect.
Oh my god, how?
Perfect. Let me do this. Yeah, perfect. Okay, take one more. Okay, change the angle a little bit. If you want, you can change your pose. It's entirely up to you. I'm just changing the angle so that we have a slightly different angle. Are you okay, Mizu?
Yeah, I'm okay.
And two. Okay. Okay. That's it. Unless you want to do something that's sus.
Why, you chasing me instead?
No.
Chase the ghost?
No. Not exactly.
Want me on top of you?
Not exactly. Me on my knees and you here. Okay. Yeah, no, you stand higher. Higher. It's fine. Yeah, I want you to be standing on the ground. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Let me position the camera a little bit. Turn your body this way a little bit. Yeah, okay. When it comes to taking photos like this, it doesn't matter how we're standing. All that matters is what the camera sees. So, we're going to tilt our body to and our faces to the side like this a little bit, so that the subject can be seen by the camera. Okay. Actually, taking it from further away is better because I can always zoom in manually in editing. So, okay. So now I need to be like so. And hand here. Yes, that'll do. That'll do. Okay. Wait, hang on a sec. That's producing a weird effect. So, stand by. No, that you can see that. Okay, that's not good. Okay, there we go. Okay. Yeah, that's all. So I'll do. Okay. This higher, and we'll take one more. Okay. Thank you. Okay, one of these is gonna be turned. One or multiple of these are gonna be turned into Phasmophobia thumbnails.
Shy.
I will mess with them in post to see which one will be the one the best to use. Thank you so much, Mizu.
All good. Think I'm gonna go take a nap.
Okay. Thanks again for helping me and coming with me for horror map.
No problem.
We'll be playing again
I shall
together.
see you later, okay?
And if you want to join me for Phasmo, I can let you know ahead of time roughly when I'm going intend to play it.
Sure.
Okay. Bye, Mizu.
A lot of the horror what do you call it? A lot of the horror games that we played has updates as well.
Yeah.
Purify has an update. Into the Backrooms has an update.
Yeah, Numi mentioned that. Oh, was it Purify? Wait, was it Purify or was it something else? Sometime last month, Numi mentioned that one of the other games that we played had an update. So yeah, we'll definitely be playing those. I leave it up to you guys. Well, we'll discuss later whose perspective is we're going to be using to stream it. But yeah.
How did I turn on? I accidentally turned on the mirror and it's lagging me like crazy.
Oh no. Oh no.
I don't even. There we go, got it. And also, Occult has an update as well. I'm not sure if we played that.
The Occult was the game that had the
Spiders.
Was it the one that had us trying to kill a pig man in a meat factory? Or was that a different one?
I think that's something else. I think that's Purify.
Oh. There's so many indie horror games that I completely mixed up which one is which, but yeah, we'll definitely be playing them. Don't worry.
I think all of them has an update though. All of them has a new map. Into the Backrooms, Occult, Purify.
Numi mentioned
and one
that
more. Labyrinth has a mini game as well.
a new minigame for Labyrinth Sign?
I think it's a new map. One of
Oh.
those case files.
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
Yeah, Numi mentioned wanting to play, so we'll... Oh god, what the fuck is that? Oh shit, oh no, Maitsu, thank you so much for the raid, welcome raiders. We are approaching the end of the stream right now, technically, but thank you so much for the raid, welcome. We just finished some VR horrors, and then we're taking thumbnail pics for Phasmophobia. Mizu Melon over here was kind enough to be a model for me. Why is my fucking controller not... Okay, hang on. It's because of this. Okay, there we go. But yeah, hi, welcome. What are you guys doing, by the way? Mizu, do you need to go to bed?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go nap. Sleepy time for me. Alright, enjoy the rest of your stream. I'll catch up later. Okay?
Yeah, I'll chat with chat for a little bit before ending stream. Good night. Okay, chat, let me bring you guys closer. There we go. Yeah, how's your stream? Vibing in VRC, but your controller died. Oh, okay. I don't think I've met you before, Maitsu. Did you just find me in the VRChat section? Yeah, I know I'm standing in a Phasmophobia house map right now, but yeah, we were taking pictures for YouTube thumbnails. Because we're gonna be doing Phasmophobia sometime soon. I'm not, yes. Were you guys doing any like horror maps or anything? Nice to meet you too. You guys excited for Spooktober? I'm not looking. Oh god! Oh, who's that? Hang on. Need to sniff out who's that. Oh, just followed. Sniff. Who's that? Maisa just followed. Thanks so much for the follow. Welcome to the roost. I hope you enjoy your time here. Welcome. I just realized something, chat. Mizu helped me take a bunch of photos for thumbnails, but only with this avatar. I need to use the other avatar. Fuck. Okay, you know what? We'll take more photos for thumbnails, but we'll do it ourselves. First, let me reset my avatar. There we go. Always gotta reset your avatar. Just finding the music and yes. Alright. Fine. We like to chill and relax here. Except when I'm playing horror movies. When I'm playing horror games. When I'm playing horror games, then you guys laugh at me. Oh, I fucking scream and die. Right, let me search up for another Phasmophobia map. A map that I can use. Yeah, a map that I can take pictures on my own. Like the farmhouse, maybe? Let's see if I can take some good photos here. You gotta get out to sleep. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll take care of your viewers for now. We've lost. Yeah, it's fine. It's my fault. It's my fault for forgetting. It's fine. Don't worry. Chances are I'll be using the thumbnails the photos I took with you first, Mizu, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Good night. Sweet dream, Mizu. My screams are legit cute though. You guys are fucking laughing at me while I died in fucking horror map. You freaking assholes. You motherfuckers laughing at me. I'm freaking if Mizu wasn't there, I would have started probably crying on stream. Okay, let's see if I can do anything with this map. Let's see if the lighting here is usable. If it's not, then I'll just say fuck it and go back to the previous map. Oh, the lighting in here is so much better. Yeah, it's so much better. Okay, let's see here. Probably should have come here first actually, but it's fine. We'll make do with what we've taken so far. Okay. I might not even need these, to be honest. Okay, okay, let me switch to my trap avatar. There we are. Okay. I need something that has a good view of the background. Okay, that looks good. Yeah, perfect. 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 Oh. Let's see. I need to make any adjustments with my shader settings. Oh, that's a bit too strong. Tune that like so. Do I turn off? Oh, okay. Like so. Hello Taylor, welcome. Welcome. We're taking some screen pics for Phasmophobia stream. I will fix this in post, so don't worry. Hang on. Wait, should I have my sweater on or off? What do you guys think? Sweater on or off? The sweater is a little bit distracting, so maybe I should leave it off. And let me turn this on. Turn on flying. Turn on local tracking. Okay. And let's find a good spot. Okay. I'm gonna have to switch you guys over to my personal view for a little bit, but yep, okay, actually wait, no, it's better if like so, right? No. Yeah, this side is better. Okay. Camera's further away is better because I can always zoom in and post. Okay. Hello? A good trick for taking good thumbnail pics. Take in 4K with massive resolution so that when you need to, in post, you can zoom in as much as you want. Hi. Okay. Just be scaredy cat because I'm actually scared. I'm super scaredy cat. Oops. God damn it. God fucking damn it! No. Fucking flashlight! I swear. Okay, one more. And maybe? Yeah, view of the back. Gotta have the view of the back, right? Oh. Anyone wanna have a piece of that cake, chat? Okay, one more. And okay, there we go. That's all I need. Okay. Now let me get back to you guys. There we go. Well, that's all done for whenever we decide to do the Phasmo stream. Most likely later this week actually. I'm thinking of doing Phasmo as early as this week. Although I still need to set up the avatar for Phasmo, but don't worry. I should be able to get it done in maybe about by the end of tonight, assuming I don't slack off. Yeah, if I don't slack off, I'll be able to get it done tonight. So yeah. Let's go to our home world, shall we? Well, maybe not my home world, but another chill world. Oh, here we go. I'll go to a chill world and relax. I'm kind of curious for all of the updates for Phasmo actually, because I legit have not played the game for a year. Legit. Oh god damn it. Fucking hang on. Double music. Fuck off. Fuck off, double music. Fuck off. Where's the fucking music control? No! Shut the fuck up! Shut the fucking... God fucking damn it! I hate worlds with autoplay music. The lighting here is really nice. That one flashlight is, but tiers 3 is badass. And then everything being the same, maps are the same, but items have tiers now. Okay, so instead of strong flashlight and shit flashlight, it's flashlight 1 to tiers 1 to 3. Is that how it works now? That's actually nice. I like having like I like the idea of equipment having different tiers and stuff. Could make things fun, you know. You can be like, okay, for this run we'll only use tier 1 stuff. For anyone who wants to like have an extra bit of challenge. Every item has tiers. Nice. Actually sounds really fun. I think I'll enjoy playing it. I don't know if people and friends are going to end up like coming to save me and protect me, but yeah, guess we'll find out together, chat. Find out together. But either way, chat. We're done for tonight. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Whether you're lurking or chatting, I love you all. Hope everyone enjoyed today's stream. I'll see you guys again soon, alright? I know Maizu just raided not too long ago, but been going for almost 3 hours now, so yeah, there's only so much horror games that my heart can take. It's really stressful. In fact, I have a feeling I'm going to be super stressed out by the time I'm done with Spooktober. Summer function differently for each tier of item. Okay, yeah, I'm looking forward to learning about them once we play them. Okay, first things first. Let me go through the end stream stuff. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button down below if you're on YouTube side. Gotta feed the YouTube algorithm now. Leaving comments also helps on either the VOD or or chatting in stream chat. The YouTube algorithm works that way. You gotta do everything to feed the YouTube algorithm. Alternatively, if you guys are on Kick, remember to hit that follow button if you enjoy the time here. I'll see you again soon next time, okay? Next time will very likely be Phasmo stream, so yeah, if you like listening to a fucking coward play Phasmophobia, hit the follow button, okay? And let me thank my extra mile supporters. Oh, change mask. Wait, no, I'm on the wrong side. I need to be on this side. And then turn on transparency. Ish. Thank you so much to Lucky. Hang on, my overlay is really awful. Thank you so much to Lucky, Shu, Ras, .gov, Oxy, and Maka for giving me a big tip energy. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Thank you. And next up, thank you to Lear, Maka, Sakito, Kylon, Lucky, Shu, DJ, Cass. Wait, no, that's a different person. There's a different person. Who's that? Who's that? Hang on. I can't read it because it's tiny. The text is too small. Hang on. Text is too small. Fuck. The name is different. The name is different. Down from Lucky. God, why? Hang on. Fuck, I can't read. Okay, there we go. Crap! Yes, crap! How can I forget crap? Yeah, thank you. Shu, DJ, Cass, Director Dova for supporting me on Patreon, obviously. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. What's that? Hang on. Hang on, who is that? Fuck, I can't move this anymore. Fuck, okay. Hang on. Let me turn this off. God fucking damn it, work! God damn you, work! Come on! There we go. Okay, okay. There we go. Thank you to you. Who just followed? Who just followed? Who's that? Game over 44 TV. Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the roost. Hope you enjoy the time. Yeah, we're just about to end. I've done some spooky horror maps today. I did 2 spooky horror maps with Mizu. We took some thumbnails for next Phasmo stream, which will likely happen tomorrow. I'm going to work on getting my avatars prepped for Phasmo, so don't worry, guys. What else? We're gonna be playing spooky maps all stream. I mean, all Spooktober. Spooky games, except for Friday and Saturday. Friday, we're still going to be doing Subnautica with Foxy, which Subnautica is technically a somewhat scary game, but I'm not sure if I call it spooky. Scary for some people. And Saturday is D&D, so I can't change D&D for Spooktober, unfortunately. But don't worry, maybe I'll do something for Christmas for my own D&D campaign if I can prep it in time for Christmas. So yeah, okay, that's an idea to explore. And yeah, I'll see you guys again soon, alright? Oh wait, hang on, I need to give you guys some RP cuddles. Here we go. You get all nice and comfy. I'll try to find someone comfy to read as well. I'll see if anyone I know is streaming. If no one I know is streaming, then I might just end here, but we'll see, alright? Hope everyone enjoy. And yeah, give me a minute to see if I'm eligible for raiding. Raid eligibility check. Okay, I'm eligible for raiding, so let me see if there's anyone I know, any name I recognize streaming right now. The person whom I was thinking of raiding has ended, so let me see. Anyone else I recognize? I don't see anyone I recognize in the VRC channel. Let me check the VTuber channel. I want to make sure that I send you guys to a comfy, chill place, you know? Let me see, any names I know? I don't see anybody I recognize, so unfortunately I don't know if I won't be able to guarantee be able to send you guys somewhere comfy, so we'll just end here, alright? We'll just end here. Good night, everyone. I'll be heading off to prep for next Phasmo stream, alright? See you again soon. Bye bye. Bye. Sweet dreams. Good night, everyone.